I'm a serving firefighter and I joined in 1998. I've worked in, we have 7 regions throughout the state. I've worked in 5 of those 7 localities. A number of years ago, our union contacted the IAFF, which is the American equivalent. They have around 270,000 members in the USA, and we were made aware of specific laws regarding firefighter cancers, or to help when firefighters get cancer. From that position, we went and met with the counterparts in the USA, and they gave us a rundown on what the actual laws are, what they mean, and how they can be applied. So our involvement has been from the very early stages. We're the 3rd country, or the 2nd country outside the US to have adopted these laws in various states in various different forms. The key elements is fair protection for firefighters, which is the name of the bill. And what it does, when a firefighter has spent many years protecting the community, whether that's going to structure fires or attending car accidents or sometimes chemical incidents, there are exposures, and it's very difficult not to have those exposures for a number of reasons, mainly because our garments need to breathe. Going into a structure fire, one can imagine how much or how many toxins and chemicals are in that smoke. It goes through our garments as they need to breathe and gets into our skin, goes into our body in our filters. So what it does then is we get ill after a number of exposures, so it's a cumulative effect and at various different times. So what this legislation does is accounts for that. So if a firefighter gets ill or gets cancer, then he can identify it with his employment. So it's a reverse onus of proof put onto the employer rather than the employee. Nothing's worse, I guess, in this world to getting cancer from your occupation and then having to prove it. It certainly gives you confidence knowing that your family will be okay and you'll be okay going through this period, where before you had to take all your leave, your sick leave, your entitlements, and then sometimes be without any income while you battle this disease. So if you can imagine, it's a life-threatening disease, a lot of these, and a lot of, I guess, medical visits and the like, as you can imagine. So it's an expensive thing to get cancer. However, we do find that firefighters get it more regularly than most occupations. When firefighters go into a burning building, for instance, it might be a factory fire, or it might be a house fire. You can imagine all the carpets, all the synthetics, the lounge chairs, the light fittings, the lights, the curtains, etc., getting to a certain temperature and then breaking down. And those particles and chemical cocktails go into the atmosphere as it's burning, because it's not a complete combustion cycle sometimes. Now, with all those toxins go into or float around the place, it goes through our protective equipment. Now, our protective clothing needs to breathe, otherwise it's like wearing a plastic bag, and our core temperature raises too high and becomes a health risk equally, but more of an acute way. So what we're saying is that that stuff goes through our garments, and the tests also show that, onto our skin. So we've got that chemical cocktail onto our skin, goes through, and then into our filters. I've heard stories in the past where major runoff of water coming out of a chemical fire fills the firefighter's boots. From that, it goes through their pores of their skin in their feet and gets drawn up through their body. So there was exposures in the olden days or the last 30 years that weren't reported and weren't sort of regarded as being the main issue. However, there is a number of ways that firefighters are exposed. The legislation was first brought about by a previous executive of the Firefighters Union and the national office of our union. So as I said earlier, they went over to America and they brought back these laws and what they had put in place in some of the jurisdictions. And so I guess it started in the late 90s, early 2000 to progress along this path, and it's 2015 now, so it's taken some time. But we've seen in 2011 it go through federally, and that covered the aviation firefighters and ACT firefighters. Each state after that has taken on the challenge, and we were one of the last ones, unfortunately, to be granted that type of legislation. It's not through the Parliament yet, but we are seeing a lot of support from all sides and independents as well. There's been hundreds and even thousands of people working for this, not only in Australia but in Canada as well. The impacts are more localised on the firefighters themselves. For a number of years, leading up to 2000 and post-2000, we started keeping records of firefighters with cancer. We all know of somebody who has cancer, been through cancer, defeated cancer or lost to cancer. The previous system required you to identify what particular fire that you got sick from, which is very difficult. There needed to be a general understanding that it's a cumulative effect, and over a period, a firefighter will attend to lots of different types of incidents. Even with the best protection in the world, you can't stop, I guess, those exposures. I guess the best part about the fire service is we're not all super fit heroes, but we do work well as a team. Each one plays a particular role. I guess like a football team and a grand final winning one at that.